PJ, you're up first.
Okay. Hi, Coach. How you doing?
How are you? It's good to see you. Happy
Good
New
to
Year.
see you. Thanks. Same to you. It's good to see you that you're finally ready to get going here. Let's start out with how it feels that I know you've been practicing all fall, and now here we are. You're going to finally have an exhibition game, and next week you're starting your season. How does it feel to be at this point?
Well, if you would have asked me a week ago, I probably wouldn't be as optimistic as I am right now about the team and the development of the team. I think that this last week has been a good week of improvement and learning how to train at a level that's commensurate to being competitive at the upper level of the conference. We're missing some players still, which is unfortunate, but kind of the reality of the situation we're in. But I'm cautiously optimistic about our season this year. Hopefully we're going to get this season in, but right now as it stands, I feel like we're in a good place. The players are training hard and have bought into the training and to the philosophy of the program. So at this point, I'm feeling fairly optimistic.
Ryan, you're next.
Your schedule is very unique this year in that one, from what I understand, you're going to one place, playing them twice, and then so it's not a home and home, and then also you're not playing non-conference matches this year. So I'm just curious what you think about how the schedule is this season, and what are the biggest challenges that it presents.
My hearing isn't as good, so I'm going to have to ask either Matt. You guys to either repeat that. So how?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask, what do you think about the schedule this year? It's very different than what you normally have.
Well, I think that the schedule itself is. I feel fortunate that we have a schedule. I feel fortunate that we actually have an opportunity to play this fall. As you know, last fall we were able to get the season in, and then the spring sports, unfortunately, had to cancel. I feel like we're fortunate enough that we're able to get a schedule in this spring, and I'm hoping that we can get through it. We'll see how it goes from week to week. I think the fact that we have to wear masks is, as much as I think of my colleagues don't want the players to wear masks for the matches. I think that personally I think the way that we're going to get through the season, if we're wearing masks during the sport, I think we're the only sport that's being required to wear masks at this point. My hope that at the end of the season, we're going to look back and say that was a good decision.
In the mask thing, who's who came up with that idea? Like, who's enforcing that? Because if no other sports are doing it, I mean, who is in charge of making volleyball the only sport that has to wear them?
What other sports wear masks?
Well, no, since no other sports are wearing them, why does volleyball?
Well, volleyball the NCAA gave us an option on if we're not to wear masks, we were going to continue to be in a high risk category, which means that we were going to be tested every single day. If we wore masks, that means that we went to an intermediate risk, which means that we didn't have to get tested as often. And so I think this was a fairly controversial decision, but the medical people voted 12-0 that volleyball should wear masks during the season. I was on board with that simply because I felt like that was going to be the best opportunity for us to get all the matches in, or as many matches as we possibly could. And so I just got off of Pac-12. In fact, the Pac-12 conference call is still going on. I left a little bit early so I could meet with you guys. But kind of the hot topic of the conversation was why we were being required to wear masks. I was probably one of the few people who voted to wear the masks. So we'll see how that goes. Again, I think hopefully at the end of the season, we're going to see that it was a good decision.
All right, Kim Doss, you're next. Kim, I'm not sure. You are unmuted, so I'm not sure. We'll go to PJ now and see if Kim can figure out her audio issues.
Okay. I guess let's move off of that and let's go back to because we could go down that hole. I could go down that hole, but I'm not going to, with mass or no mass or when everything is. But let's focus on your team and where you're at right now. How do you said you feel better this week with how they're coming along. How has sort of the mental aspect been of, you train all fall and now you come back and you had a couple weeks to train and then your season starts. How have the girls been with all of that?
We were really fortunate to be able to train this fall. I count my blessings every single day that we live in a state that hasn't been locked down. We live in a state that encourages the participation, understand the long-term effects of maybe being locked down. The players appreciated the opportunity to train every single day, albeit limited at some times, and albeit with the 3 or 4 players in the gym rather than 15. And when they left November 20th, we felt like 6 weeks was going to be a long time. Well, 6 weeks actually wasn't that long. And here we are back at it full speed now every single day. And it really feels pretty normal, and if it was a different time of year, if this was the fall, it would feel just like a normal fall. We went 6 days or 2-a-days, and we had an opportunity to train, throughout the week, and it actually feels pretty normal. And so the players, I think, feel pretty normal. The thing about this team is, we have so many new players, and so they've never really been through a fall season or now a spring season. So anything that we do is brand new, and they don't know anything different. So in a large part, that's a good thing because they don't have anything to compare it to. Whereas for Paige and for Kamiley and for Ziona and for Melina, those players have been on board from day one and never complain about the amount of work or how hard practice might be. So the new players kind of take a cue from them. And so the leadership from the returning players has been fantastic.
Anybody else have another question? PJ, go ahead.
Yeah, let's talk about your players and what your rotations look like at this point and how that's all coming together.
Well, currently there's certain givens. We know that Paige and Kamiley, the 2 players that are really have the most experience on the team, are going to be in the lineup and certainly playing with the same level of consistency and I think the same level of eliteness that they've always had. Kamiley continues to get better. She being a freshman and playing outside hitter half the year because of all the injuries we experienced last year. Paige is not only her leadership has been very good, but this week in particular, she's been really, really good, putting up good numbers on the stats statistically. So, and then Ziona as well continues to make solid improvements, and her aptitude for the game and her skill set has improved. So I like that. The China and Merla, the 2 other players in the middle, continue to make strides as well. Merla being a little more experienced in China being maybe a little bit more physical. When Lauren Ware went to basketball because of us changing our season to the spring, that put China into the middle. And so that's made a little bit of a difference for her. She normally plays opposite. Some nice surprises. Delara has been very solid on the back row and has added a lot of different shot making skills as a left side attacker. Jalen Hodge, who's an incoming freshman and maybe the most athletically gifted player on our team, continues to make good strides from a back row standpoint and a front row standpoint. Those players, all the new players are grasping the system, the offense that have instituted, and just in general, the blocking systems that we use. Those are all brand new to the incoming players. Emery Herman and Akia Warrior, that they probably have the most on their plate in regards to learning the system and the offensive system that I want. The set selection goes along with the set location. It's actually a fairly complicated process for those guys. I like where they're at, and it's hard, especially with me coaching them. I wouldn't wish that on my own daughter. Fortunately, I don't have to coach my own daughter, but it's, I have a pretty distinct idea of exactly what I want from my setters. And so they're getting a lot of feedback every single day. But it's learning how to play together in some type of unity has been maybe the biggest challenge. Everyone comes from a different style and a different background, and trying to get everyone together has been hard. And it's a difficult process and kind of a work in progress. But I really like this team. I have to tell you that I enjoy coaching them. Every day I walk in the gym, I feel like they bought in to me as a coach, which is what you're always hoping for. And they're willing. I can push them as hard as I want without complaint. That comes from the leadership from Paige and Kamiley and the other players, that they're not complaining about it. And so I think the long-term prospects are really, really good. I think that the individual players are developing. Maybe my biggest disappointments is that Simone Overbeck has yet to be with us. She came in and tested positive. And then Sophia Maldonado had trouble getting into the country from Mexico. And then she only practiced for 2 days before she tested positive. So we're missing some pretty instrumental players who I think will fight for playing time in the future. That's been frustrating for everybody. But again, I think this particular year kind of goes with the territory. So overall, I feel like we're young and improving and have a chance to be pretty good in the future.
So are they starting to feel better? Did they have really bad symptoms, or was it not so bad, with Simone and Sophia?
So Simone just finished this today. Today she was back and now starting to kind of recover and go through the protocol that after you've been tested positive. So they, I forget the percentages they work you before they, are allowed to play full. And then Sophia is asymptomatic, so we're hoping she's going to get tested again tomorrow. Hopefully she comes back with a negative test, and then she gets to be back in the gym sooner than the 10-day quarantine that normally goes with being tested positive. So we're keeping our fingers crossed for Sophia and hoping that Simone can come back as soon as possible. But, both those guys really play a large part in our future and our success in with the team. But I feel, I just feel fortunate we have as many players in the gym as we do. I mean, we have 13 players regularly in the gym, and getting a chance to play full has been a real blessing for us.
And to switch a little again, how do you think that offense is coming along? Because you always talk about this, it's still kind of a new offense, and it's new to these players. Are they really starting to pick it up, especially the setters?
Yeah, I think that it's the concept of the system is easily understood. The execution of the system is much, much more difficult, especially for the setters. I think for the new middles, it's also it's difficult for the setters in the middles because of how much we ask them to move and recognize. And so it's just going to be a work in progress for those guys. It's not going to be very smooth in the beginning, but I think with time, it will be really good and advantageous for us. It makes me appreciate Julia Patterson even more. So because Julia Patterson had less than a year to learn it, and because we just started instituting it last year, and so her ability to kind of make the changes on the fly were really, really good. And only till I got the two setters who never really set the system are just being introduced to the system, and I realized how difficult it really is to learn. So it is something that requires a lot of work and a lot of practice, a lot of repetition. But both of them have been really astute about watching film and taking notes and trying their best every single day to get the right location and the right set selection that goes with this. So I really like it, and I feel like the benefits will come as we become more efficient with the system.
And what are your goals for this first exhibition?
That's a good question. I think for me, my daily goal is just to come in and be ready to help the players, and the ability to make them better every day and help them become the player that they feel that they can become. In terms of a team goal, it's such a strange year, and you just don't know what's going to unfold in terms of the number of cancellations that may happen. Who's going to be selected to the tournament? It's a 48-team tournament this year rather than a 64. There's no RPI really per se. I'm not sure how they're going to choose the other 16 teams at large bursts. I'm not sure what the criteria they're going to use. So from a goal standpoint, if we could finish anywhere between the upper half of the conference, if that's possible, I think we put ourselves in a position to be selected to the tournament. And I think those are two reachable and attainable goals. It's just hard to say with just so many unknowns and variables right now.
And how about for this game on Saturday? What are your goals for that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Your goals for the exhibition on Saturday.
The goals for the
game on Saturday.
Oh, on Saturday.
Yeah.
God, I haven't even thought much about it. There's certainly the statistical goals that we talk about by position. My hope is that the players are going to be, nervous, which is good. I mean, we haven't played an opponent in so long. I mean, it's going to be nice to see somebody on the other side of the net that's different than our own, wearing our own practice jersey. But my hope is that we can statistically put the numbers up that we talk about by position, and that we just play together. If we can do that and play hard, and duplicate what we do in practice, and I'll be satisfied. I'm not too concerned about the win or the loss. I'm going to be throwing out different lineups out there with Sophia and Simone not being a part of the lineup this Saturday. Then I'm going to be working around different people playing different positions. Again, I need to get a feel for who fits best in what spot. So that's probably my primary goal.
Any other questions for Coach Rubio? Okay. Thanks, you guys.
I really appreciate you taking your time to spend with us, and we're looking forward to a good season and a healthy season, and see if we can get as many matches as we can in. But again, I just feel fortunate that we're actually going to have one.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.